Morning Marketing Podcast is brought to you by Esther of IPA Group, bringing premier online promotion to your business.
And Melanie of Stomp Social Media Training, who empowers business owners to manage social media and marketing for themselves.
And welcome back to another episode of the Monday Morning Marketing Podcast. Today we're talking about automated responses, pros and cons.
Now, we will always advocate for ways on giving you your time back.
Love it.
Being responsive, being accurate.
Using new technologies.
Absolutely embracing new technologies because, there's an awful lot of people out there that are using these tools, and that's why there's so many, because they appeal to different people at different times. But we have to be remaining objective for the podcast.
Yeah, and with everything, with all new technologies and not so new technologies, there are pros and cons to using it and pros and cons to using it for your business.
Yeah.
So, for example, I am a huge advocate for automations, make life easier. They free up so much of your time. That would be one of the first things that I would say. Obviously, once you get it set up, it takes a long time to set up, but once you get it set up, then it can free up the monotonous replies of, thank you for your message. How can we help you today? Thank you for your message. How can we help you today? So, yeah, that's a big one.
And there are automations in lots of different formats as well these days. You would be the queen email marketing person. So you set up the funnels for email marketing.
Yeah.
So when people sign up on a website or they download something, then they get this.
They get a thank you for downloading.
Yeah.
And that's an automated response. One of the main ones, though, that I think everybody would need or appreciate when they're running a business for an automated response is your out of office response.
Mm-hmm. So
somebody sends you an email and you're off on holiday. You don't want them thinking that you're ghosting them, that you're not answering them. You want them to know that there's a reason why you're not answering. Mm-hmm. So the automated response of, thank you for your email. I'm currently on holiday. I'll get back to you after I'm back in the office on whatever date.
Yeah.
That is one that everyone should have.
Well, that's kind of basic. That's something that a lot of people can do, but just don't think to.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't be suitable for everybody, because I can't see many sole traders, especially service providers,
going on holiday. No, we don't.
Especially that, yeah. But they'd like to be responsive because they've got a competition. But there's all sorts of different ways. Like there's Zendesk.
Mm-hmm.
Zendesk is a fabulous tool, but they have built-in automations. Although they have a team of people, normally you have your staff round the clock on it,
mm-hmm.
because it's a European or international business, so you could have round the clock support on Zendesk. But there's still automations on it, because if you send a message to somebody and they've got Zendesk, then it will say an operator has been notified and we'll get back to you as soon as one's available. You've got phone automations as well for the same thing. So there's all sorts of weird and wonderful automations that we can add and that have its place. But as you say, it can take an awful lot of time, and some of them take a huge amount of budget. And especially for the smaller sort of startup businesses, as much as they'd love to use these, that's quite an initial outlay.
Oh, yeah.
And because it takes a while for it to even get started, that can be quite an off-putting thing. So as a con, I would say, as great as it is, there's an initial outlay of time and money that not everybody has.
No, but on the money one there are some platforms that give it to you for free. So Facebook give you free option of adding in an automated response, because there was a time, I think they've done away with it now, where they would praise you or sort of give you extra stars for your fast responses.
Oh, yeah. 10 minutes.
So people thought, if you're running a business on the East Coast of America and somebody contacts you from the West Coast, but you've already left the office, gone home, gone to sleep, you would have lost that. Congratulations, you're a fast responder. Just because you were 4 or 5 hours ahead of them.
Yeah.
Us here in Europe, we're about 8 hours ahead of the West Coast of America. So, people started setting up automations there to not lose their fast response.
But the downside to that is, so I used to achieve that fast response all the time, and it would look good. So when people would come to the Facebook page, it would say this page responds quickly, and that would be like kudos. But now they've kind of done away with that particular icon, if you like, and now you've got automated responses. So you can put out questions. So can you show me the menu? What are your opening hours, or anything else? Mm-hmm. Those are suggestions, but you can actually create your own ones as well. But when you use the automated responses through Messenger, if you're monitoring it like I would be in the past, then the automated response would go immediately out and the notification would disappear.
Yes, you wouldn't know unless you went into Messenger.
So unless you physically checked on a regular basis, either Meta Business Suite, which wasn't there when it first started, or Creator Studio, or go into the actual Messenger itself, you would never know.
Yeah.
And so when I took over social media accounts, when I was managing, I'd switch the automation off. Mm-hmm. So at least when I opened up my phone, or I'd hear a ding or my phone vibrate or whatever, I would know.
Yeah.
So I know it's a lovely idea, but if you want somebody to be monitoring that because you've asked a question and you can't just auto respond with a sentence, then you've kind of lost them straight away.
Yes. Yes, you can, because not all the auto responses are asking them for more information. There's a few that I've seen that's just, thank you for your message. We'll be back to you as soon as we can.
Yeah.
And that doesn't give me a chance to continue the process. And, I quite like going into, say, as much as we complain as well, the banking app that I use. And it starts off with automated questions just so they can streamline you into the section that they want you to. So if you have an issue with your credit card or your debit card, you choose one of those, and then it knows which agent needs to respond to you, or how that agent needs to respond to you. If they're starting off on a blank with just, thank you for your message, we'll be back, we'll be with you as soon as possible, then it takes that human person longer to get to the issue that you have. So if I were to, if I want to go and study a master's in a university, I want to be able to go on and click the different options that I want and see some general information about it before someone phones me. Because if they phone me and go, so what is exactly that you would like to be interested in? What course are you thinking of? And then they're not the person or not the department. And then they have to, hold on a minute and I'll transfer you to that department. They know better. You're wasting my time. So you have to think about your client's time when you're setting up these automations. How can you...
It's a customer journey, basically.
It is. It's the customer journey, but it's also helping you on the far end, on the opposite end, go, right, so they've already told me that they need a new website. They want it as a brochure website. They don't need it to include a blog. They don't need it to have e-commerce. So that's an easier conversation to have. Could I upsell them to a different type of website once I talk to them? Possibly. But at least I know in the start, this is, they're looking for a website, or they're looking for social media, or they're looking for graphic design. If I just get a phone call saying, what do you do? And I'm going, how long do you have? Because the list of services that you provide could be super long and you'll lose them after the first 4. But if you know what they're looking for, and you can streamline your speech, your sales talk into what they need.
And that's if you can set up the automation actively.
Yeah.
So the other con I can see when it comes to automations is the accessibility issues.
Yeah.
They're not great.
They're not.
Although there are some that provide them, they're not across the board on every platform.
No.
They don't all do speech to text. There are some people who need to see sign language, actual hands move. And virtually no one does that.
No.
So they'll need an interpreter with them. Most of them, if they do speech to text, don't allow for hearing loops. So, there's accessibility when it comes to automations aren't great.
No, but as a society, all accessibility issues are slowly being looked at. So I would say even as a society here in Ireland, UK, there are still a long way to go even in the infrastructure you see in the streets, in the towns and cities. We still, as people, have a long way to go to make those fully accessible. So the online world has a little bit of more catching up to do because it's younger. Some cities are hundreds or thousands of years old, and they need to make adjustments. So a website that's, or the internet that's, 30, 40 years old, it needs to catch up. It needs to have time to get to that point too. And it'll probably happen faster online than it will in real life.
Oh, most definitely. So what have we come at the end of this? What has been the conclusion about automation pros and cons? We've kind of established that it is fast moving, that there are people out there that are providing solutions, but they're just not quite there yet. That sometimes the solution creates a problem.
Yes. The customer. Always put the customer first on the journey, because you can win or lose someone based on your automation. Because I have a love-hate relationship with automation. Some are fabulous, some are wonderful. They get me the information I need without even needing to speak to a human. Others are severely lacking and don't have even the flexibility to ask it a different question or to put in different information, because you'll just get the same, "Thank you for your message, we'll reply as soon as we can." That, needs to change.
So what I'd like to ask our listeners is, we would love to hear your thoughts on the pros and cons of automations. We'd like to hear what you think works and what doesn't work. And maybe this discussion will help you actually think of an area where you could actually work to change things, to improve things, to speed things up. You never know, we could have made a millionaire out of this podcast.
Could have. Just remember, automation is great, but it doesn't take away the whole human interaction from the process.
No.
Humans will always be needed in
automations.
In automations.
Yes.
In every aspect of life. Just making that clear. But you need to be hands-on getting it set up and hands-on making sure that it still works, because there can be glitches in automations too, even when they've been running smoothly for weeks or months or years.
And even when Esther's run them.
Exactly. Because they're set up by humans and humans make mistakes. That's it for today, guys. Thanks again for listening. We'll be back next week with more Monday Morning Marketing. Until then, goodbye.
Goodbye, guys. And we really do hope we hear from you soon. Just message the podcast.